Okay, it's here.
But then,
Huh?
a short announcement first. What we're going to do, I need a short announcement.
Yeah.
At the end of the thing, I will talk to you about the project. Good evening, brothers and sisters.
Okay.
Thank you for coming. We haven't seen each other for a long time. But I have just a short announcement to make before Bante starts the session. Just to let you know the good news, Bante will be staying here for a much longer period this time. I think he's going to skip his US trip. That's the first thing. The next thing is as usual. Now I will pass a book, the attendance book around. Can you please put in your name and your email so that I can have a new list for the latest participants rather than using the one I've been using for the last 5 years or 6 years. Okay? That's it. And the next thing is, as you know, I usually pass a small envelope around with our organizers' permission. I do try to collect a little bit of petty cash for Bante's requisites at the end of his talk so that he can use it whatever he needs for his personal and so forth. And one more thing is at the end of the session, I would like to bring out something which is Bante's idea, and Bante will talk to you at the end of this session. And for your information, for all those who are with me, you must thank Brother Leslie Tilakade. He is now in charge of the Sutta class session, and you see him here tonight with his recorder and his men. Thank you very much for joining us. Bante? You need the stand.
No, I think you just plug it to that. Or he can hold it in his hand if you want.
No, usually he doesn't hold his hand.
But then
You can use this as the stand.
I'll use this as a stand.
No, you'll be blocking his face. That's why. You'll see more of the mic than the. Can you just try it, Bante? Just try it. Just say something.
Are you convenient?
Just say something.
Are you convenient?
I hope you hear me. Like that. Don't block the face.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to say something?
No, it's okay. It's already done. You want to hear you rather than me.
Well, I'm happy to see you all again after some time.
1 year,
One year. 1 year?
Yes.
No.
Yes. My attendance here showed 1 year.
You haven't done this for 1 year.
Well, so we can begin again, and we'll be beginning with some new ideas coming up, because I find that lot of research has been done by modern scientists, and this research or the discoveries that they have made really begin to prove what the Buddha has already been saying. And partly the modern Buddhists they don't seem to have understood the original teachings are now almost distorted because there are different schools of Buddhism today that interpret the teachings of the Buddha in different ways. You are quite familiar with these modern schools like Theravada Buddhism is one school of thought, Mahayana is another school of thought, Vajrayana or the Tibetan Buddhism is another school of thought. Then we also have what is called Pure Land School or the Zen. And all these different schools begin to interpret the teachings in different ways. And I have been doing long research to discover the original teachings of the Buddha. I have been trying to find out what the Buddha has really taught. And that means what I find is that the real teaching lasted only about 100 years. Now we are more than 2,500 years. But the real teaching lasted only 100 years. Because only after 100 years there was a conflict that came up that divided into the Theravada and the Mahayanas. That division took place after 100 years. And from there on, it had been dividing during the time of Asoka. The Emperor Asoka in India at that time. That was about 300 years after the Buddha. And by that time, there were 18 schools of Buddhism in India itself. So the modern schools are really derived from those 18 schools. So this is why we have to, instead of trying to divide into different schools, we should try to understand the original teaching. And a very important sutra that begins to, there are several sutras. If we begin to go into these sutras, we find that these sutras begin to point out the difference between the original teachings and the modern day thinking of Buddhists. So one important sutra is what is called the Tanna Mahatanna Sankaya Sutra in the Majjhima Nikaya. Now most of you I think know that these sutras have been collected, and the sutras that were collected were not really changed. They were memorized and brought. So no one tried to change the sutras. Only thing is, people didn't understand the sutras properly. And the sutras were written down in the Pali language. And gradually people didn't understand even the language properly. So that's how the teaching lasted, but the understanding and interpretation of the teachings got a little confused. That's how it happened. And today, in a way, it is possible to understand and appreciate the teachings because the human mind has developed to a certain extent today because of the modern scientific education and also scientific thinking and research. People are beginning to understand certain things. When all other religions are finding a conflict between science and their dogmas, Buddhism is the only religion that is not finding any problems like that. So whatever the scientists are discovering is already being mentioned by the Buddha. So that is the great thing about the teachings of the Buddha. So this is what we have been talking about all these days, and we have been very fortunate and lucky in that our friend Billy Tan has been helping by means of his talents with the computers and these PowerPoints and all the illustrations that has helped us. But at the same time there has been some problems also, and he has decided to leave me alone. But I hope maybe some time later he will come back again.
I'm back.
I think Hilson is here. Hilson is here, the other person.
Who?
Hilson, the long person.
Long lost son.
Yeah, yeah.
Your long lost son.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hilton is here. Where? I didn't see him yet.
No, the orange one.
Oh, yeah. You have changed, that's why. Your face is also changed.
He's your
Now he has
webmaster.
become a father.
He's still holding your web.
Yeah.
Your son.
And more mature looking, huh? That's why. So anyway, we are happy to see you all again. And one important thing that I would like to talk today is about the mind. Now the modern scientists and psychologists when they began to study the mind, what really happened was they couldn't find the mind to study. This thing called psychology came up as the study of the mind. Psycho or psych means the mind. But unfortunately they couldn't find the mind. The only thing that they could see was the body. There was only the body. And they tried to dig into the body to find out whether they could discover the mind somewhere, and they found there was no mind to see. So then they began to define psychology as the study of human behavior. You see, there is a problem here. That is that people find it difficult to realize that when we talk about the mind, we have to see that what we call the mind is not an objective experience. Now, what do you mean by objective? Now, when I look at this cup here, that is an object that I see. So, if we try to find the mind as an object, we will never be able to find the mind as an object. As an object, we can only see the body. What we call the mind is a subjective experience. That means the mind is somewhere inside here, subjective experience. So our experience is of two kinds, objective and subjective. So this is the important thing to realize. So if we try to find the mind as an objective experience, we will never be able to see the mind like that. We can see only the body. So this is why that the people couldn't find the mind as an objective experience. And today the modern science is always trying to do research on the objective experience, what is called matter or what is called energy. These are the two big things that modern scientists are talking about. The matter and energy. These are all objective experiences. So when we begin to talk about the mind, we need to look at the subjective experience. And this is why one man who wanted to understand the mind started looking at the subjective experience. This was Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud, you have heard of Sigmund Freud, he was using what is called introspection. Introspection means looking within at the subjective experience. And he said that if we want to study the mind, we have to use introspection. And those people who were trying to be scientists, they said introspection is not scientific. So they started criticizing Freud for not being scientific. To be scientific, you have to use what we may call extrospection. That means looking at the objective part. But Freud said, you cannot study the mind by looking that way. That is the wrong way to look at the mind. So we have to use introspection. And that is how there was this conflict between what are called the behaviorists and the psychoanalysts. Psychoanalysts was the Freudian method. He called it psychoanalysis. And but it was introspective. And the behaviorists were mainly looking outside into the objective experience. And they could find only human behavior. That's why they defined psychology as the study of human behavior. Now, when we begin to talk about the teachings of the Buddha, in the teachings of the Buddha, the teaching of the Buddha is called Dhamma. You are familiar with that word Dhamma. So Dhamma is the teaching of the Buddha. So we also recite something about the Dhamma, which those are the words used by the Buddha himself. Swakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditthiko Akaliko Ehi Passiko Opanayiko Pachattang Veditabbo Vinyohiti. Now that set of words is a description of the Dhamma. Swakhato Bhagavata Dhammo means Suvakhato. Now the word Vakhato means put into words. Su means well put into words. That means the teaching of the Buddha is well verbalized or put into words, expressed in words. Now, there are some who say, if we begin to talk about the truth, the truth cannot be put into words. There are some philosophers who have been saying that the truth can be understood but cannot be put into words. But here the Buddha points out that the Buddha has been able to put the truth into words. That's the greatness of the Buddha. That is the meaning of Suakhato. Suakhato means that it has been expressed in words. Suakhato. Bhagavata Dhammo. Bhagavata Dhammo means the teachings of the Buddha. Bhagava. Then there's Sanditthiko. Sanditthiko. Ditta means can be seen. Sanditthiko means it can be clearly seen. So the teachings of the Buddha can be put into words and it can also be seen. There, seeing means not just looking with your eyes. It can be directly experienced. Experience is something that we can experience with our eyes, or it can be experienced with the ears, or maybe with the nose, or with the tongue, or with the body. So these are the five senses through which we begin to experience things. So we have five senses, and with these five senses we can experience things. But although we are able to experience things through the five senses, that is only what we call perception. Eye perception, ear perception, nose perception, tongue perception, and body perception. So perception is simply seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. But there is another thing that we do. Not only seeing, hearing, smelling, that is what we call thinking. We can think about what we see. We can think about what we hear. We can think about what we smell. We can think about what we taste. We can think about what we touch. It is very important to understand that. Now, during the time of the Buddha, there were some Brahmins who came to see the Buddha, and they asked a question. Well, we have 5 senses. Now, although we have these 5 senses, is there a place where these 5 senses meet? A meeting place for the 5 senses? Where do the senses meet? So the Buddha said, yes, there is a meeting place, and that is what is called Mano. Mano. And of course, those days, people didn't know much about what is today called the brain. They knew that there was something inside the skull, but they didn't know what it was. But today the modern scientists are aware of this, that from the eyes there is a nerve going to the brain called the optic nerve. It's like a telephone wire that goes from the eye to the brain. Then there is another nerve going from the ears to the brain. And from the nose to the brain. From the tongue to the brain. And from the whole body to the brain. These are the optic nerve, the auditory nerve, the olfactory nerve, and so on. These different nerves going to the brain. And all that is received at the brain. And the brain does the thinking. So what the Buddha called mano was simply the activity of the brain that does the thinking. That is the interesting thing to understand. So we have words that the Buddha used. We have a word called vijnana. The word vijnana is not properly translated today by the British people who translated, like Rice Davids. It's mainly the translation of Rice Davids. There is a dictionary written by Rice Davids, and all the people who translate into English, they use that dictionary to find the words. But there are mistakes in those words, because if the wrong word is being used to translate the Pali word, then we don't understand it properly. So the mistake here is what is called chakku vijnana. That means the understanding which is really a perception, eye perception. Chakku vijnana. Sota vijnana is the ear perception. Gana vijnana is the nose perception. Jivha vijnana is the tongue perception. Kaya Vijnana is the body perception. But when it comes to the activity of the brain, where all these things come and meet, that is called Mano-Vijnana. The brain activity is called Mano. So when it comes to Mano-Vijnana, the word that is used is the English word we have to use is not perception. It is conception. You see, Mano-Vijnana is not a perception, it is a conception, which means we are thinking and forming a concept, an idea. So this is why today all the perceptions are called what do we use? Huh?
We call
Consciousness, yeah. So it is not correct. The word consciousness can be used only for the Mano-Vijnana. Others are perceptions. Chakku-Vijnana is a perception. Only Mano-Vijnana is a conception. And that is where we can call it consciousness, becoming conscious. So this is very important to understand. And another important word that we can use in modern psychology, even the Mano-Vijnana is what is called cognition. That Mano-Vijnana, the modern word used in psychology is cognition. And it is the cognition that we begin to comprehend something like we recognize. Now when I look at this, we say this is a cup, and the cup may be made of clay. All that is cognition. We recognize. When we use the word recognize, what are we saying? Recognition. Recognition is recognition. And how do we know that this is the cup? Because I have seen cups before, and I put this cup into that category of percepts. So I am categorizing what I see here by putting it into a category. And that is how I recognize this as a cup. If I have never seen cups before, I cannot look at it and say this is a cup. So this is why we have to be very careful in using the words. And some of these things have not been properly understood by the translators who translated these Pali words. This is why it has become necessary to give new translations. And that is what I am doing. But some people find that I am distorting things. there is a thing like that is happening. But I am not trying to distort things. I am trying to bring the full meaning behind this.
Nobody is blameless.
Huh?
Nobody is blameless.
Yeah.
Neither me nor you.
Yeah.
Bhante, vicissitudes of life.
So you see, it's very important to understand these things. Another very interesting thing that we have to understand, the modern scientists who have been doing a lot of research on the brain, how the scientists are talking about a thing called evolution. You are familiar with that word evolution? That all the animals and plants have been evolving, which is a gradual process of growth. Just as a seed grows into a tree, or an egg growing into an animal, in the same way, through a process of evolution, these different kinds of animals and plants have come into this world. And now they are beginning to do research on the brain, how the brain evolved. Because you see, although the human beings can think and reason out and even talk and discuss things like philosophy and psychology and various things, you know that a dog cannot do that, or even a cat cannot do that. Why? Because their brain is not evolved to that level. So they have been doing a lot of research to find out how this thing called the brain evolved. And in doing that, they have now begun to speak about the brain in 3 stages. They speak of what is called the reptilian brain. That means there is a kind of animal called the reptiles. You see, now even we have the animal that we call the fish. The fish, and then we know about how the frog is born. At the beginning, the frog also looks like a fish, and then gradually begins to develop. And the frog is able to come out of the water and travel on land. But the fish cannot do that. So these animals who come out of the water, they are called the reptiles. So you see, if you examine the reptilian brain, that is a certain level of evolution. And now they speak of another level called the mammalian brain. You know the kind of animal that is called the mammals. They are the animals that feed the children with milk. Those are the mammals. Human beings are also kind of mammal because they also feed the children with the milk coming from the breast. Now, but the human being has something more than that. That is the ability to think and reason out. This is why the human being has started this thing called science, and today we have electric lights, we have these clocks, we have these motor vehicles, we have refrigerators, we have airplanes, and all these computers. Why? Because the human being has the ability to think and reason out, do mathematics, mathematical calculations. All this is because the brain is more evolved. Now, in that brain, which is the mammalian brain, you get what is called the emotions. Emotion is very important there. This is why the mammals, they get frightened, they get angry, they have desires. You see, the frog, if a frog comes into this room, you try to chase the frog away, that frog doesn't run about. But if it is a rat or mouse coming, you try to catch the mouse will run away. You see that behavior difference is because the reptilians, they don't get that fear and they run away. But in the case of the human being, there is something more than this, emotions, the thinking ability. So they have divided these three levels, the reptilian brain, the mammalian brain, and the human brain. These three levels of evolution. Wonderful thing is, the Buddha has been talking about this in a different way. The Buddha points out that what we call the mind is not some entity separate from the body. Normally people think there is a thing called mind which is separate from the body, and when a person dies, it is the body that dies, the mind will remain, come out of the body and go and creep into another body, and that is how rebirth takes place. That special sutra called the Mahathanna Sankaya Sutra, the Buddha points out that is a complete mistake to think like that. There is no mind that can come out of the body. Today, they use the word reincarnation. What is the meaning of the word reincarnation? Because according to the Christian way of thinking, when a person is born, God puts a soul inside that body. That is called incarnation. Incarnation is to put the soul into the body, which is done by God. And when a person dies, that soul will come out of the body. That is called discarnation. So when the Christians don't believe in that soul going into another body, so they think the soul will remain without a body. That is called the discarnate soul. When the Buddhists talk about rebirth, they think that discarnate soul re-enters the body. That is what is called reincarnation. So that word reincarnation is not a Buddhist word. Buddhists don't think like that. Because there is no soul. According to the Buddhist way of thinking, there is no such soul to come out of the body or to creep into the body. That's the difference. So the word reincarnation is incorrect. But the important thing to understand is that the Buddha pointed out that there is no entity separate from the body. Today the scientists, they have been doing a lot of research to find out whether there is something like a soul inside the body. There is a professor who wrote a book, who had been doing a lot of research to find out the soul. This is called Dr. Penfield. In that book, he points out he couldn't find the soul anywhere. He couldn't find the soul. There is only the body. You see, the important thing is what we call the mind. The Buddha said there are 3 words that the Buddha used to refer to the mind: Chitta, Mano and Vijnana. Chitta, Mano and Vijnana. The word Vijnana you see, what are called Vijnana is eye perception, Chakku Vijnana, ear perception, Sota Vijnana, nose perception, Gana Vijnana, tongue perception, Jiva Vijnana, body perception, Kaya Vijnana, like that, different perceptions. That is simply the activity of the senses, sensory activity. And then he used the word mano to refer to the activity of the brain, the thinking part. Mano vinyan. That's the activity of the brain. And then he pointed out that there is another thing that is what is called chitta. That means the emotional reaction. It is the chitta that gets emotionally agitated. The chitta can remain in two ways, either emotionally agitated or it can be in a tranquil state. That is the word that we can use is the English word is the mood or temperament. Temper or mood or temperament. That means it can be in a, we speak of a person in a good mood or calm mood or maybe agitated mood. So it's the mood that is the chitta. So the important thing here is that the chitta refers to a part of the brain that is in the mammalian brain that is called the limbic system. That limbic system is the part of the brain that produces emotions. There is a special place called the amygdala. Billy knows all these things. He has been showing these things in the diagrams. The important thing is that the emotions are coming from the chitta. So the Buddha has been mentioning these things, although he didn't use the words that the modern people are using, but the chitta refers to that limbic part, limbic system. And the thinking part is done by what is called the cerebrum or the cerebral cortex. It's also called the neocortex. And this area of the brain that does the thinking. And that is very important to understand. That is the mano. The word mano was used to refer to that thinking part, which is the real human brain. The important thing to understand is that what the Buddha was trying to do was to bring the human being, which is really a mixture of animal and the human being. The emotions are the animal part of the human being. Now there is a special sloka that is very useful to understand. Sloka is a Sanskrit verse. Ahara nidra bhaya maitunancha samanya metat pasubih narana dharmo hitesa vadiko viseso dharmena hina pasubih samana. This is a very interesting thing when you see the translation. Ahara means taking food, feeding. Nidra means sleeping. Bhaya means fear. Maithuna means sexual activity. Taking food, sleeping, fear and sexual activity. These are things that human beings have in common with animals. That is what it says. This is what human beings have in common with animals. Then he says, Ahara nidra by maitunancha samanya meta pasubhi samana. Dharmo itesa bandiko viseso. What is special about the human being is dharma. What is the meaning of dharma? Dharma is the ability to think and reason out and be able to identify what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. That is the dharma. That ability is the ability of the brain, thinking brain, which is called mano. Dharmena hina pasubik samana. One who is low in that thinking part is like an animal. That's what that sloka says. So in other words, the important teaching of the Buddha is to bring the human being to grow above or transcend that animal nature and become fully human. That was the teaching of the Buddha, that we have to get rid of this animal nature. And it is this animal nature that the Buddha called lobha, dosa and moha. Three things. In translation is lust, hate and delusion. The delusion is the idea of self. So we have to get rid of the lust, the hate and the thought I am. That is the selfishness. We have to overcome this selfishness and then only we rise above the animal and become fully human. But that fully human state is not a normal state. That is what is called a supernormal state. That is why it is called Arya. The normal person is called the Putujjana. But the supernormal person is called Arya Puggala. Arya, Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, Arhat. Those four states are called the Arya states, the supernormal state. So those are four levels of going beyond the normal. Sotapanna is what is called the stream winner, or one who has entered the stream. Satlagami is one who has been able to control the emotions to a great extent. And Anagami is the person who has completely controlled the emotions, but still not fully given up the idea I am. It's only when the idea of I completely disappears, that is called the Arahant. So all those are levels of rising above the normal. So the main thing about the teachings of the Buddha is to rise above the normal animal stage and transcend the animal stage and become fully human, which is not a normal state but a supernormal state. That is the aim of the Buddha, and that can be properly understood when we begin to understand the modern scientific discoveries. And it's very important to understand. And I hope you understood all that. And now we have come to the end of our time. And
Question time.
huh?
Question time.
What?
Questions.
You want to say something? Yeah.
Q&A.
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 Announcements later.
Okay, then Q&A first. Any question, brothers and sisters?
One day,
Huh?
you explain
Better come here, I'm going to use the mic.
You want to ask a question?
Wow.
you are explaining the qualities of the Buddha,
Yeah.
and actually you stopped after Sanditiko.
Yeah.
You didn't do
What's that?
Akaliko.
Akaliko. Ehipasiko.
Akaliko, Ehipasiko, Opanaiko,
Jatang,
Veditabo.
Ah,
You
meaning
stopped at
the,
Sanditiko.
you mean the Swakato.
Explanation.
Well, the Swakato Bhagavata Dhamma Sanditiko Akaliko means that Sanditiko means you have, it can be understood, and Akaliko means it is independent of time. Akaliko means independent of time. Ehipasiko means you can it is in the best word is that it is verifiable. That means you can ask anyone to come and see. Ehipasiko means come and see. That means it can be verified. It's verifiable. Sanditiko, Akaliko, Ehipasiko. Opanaiko means it is introspective. Upanayati. Upa means inside, Nayati means direct inside, which is introspective. Pachattan Veditabbo Vinyohiti means it can be realized by intelligent people. Pachattan Veditabbo. Personally realized by intelligent people. Pachattan Veditabbo Vinyohiti.
I got a question here, Pandit.
Huh?
I got a question.
What?
I got a question here.
You have a
just now you
question?
mentioned that.
Huh?
Just now you mentioned that all of us is our body is only have this brain activities, which considered as a mind. So I read a lot about these cases like publication. They say some people they get rebirth after they die or get killed by someone. They rebirth. and then they can recall back these are past life. So in here is I just got some doubts is how the brains, as what you mentioned, brains are the activities of the mind. So how this being like carry over to the next life, and how they link up.
Well, that is a long story. We'll discuss it next time.
Next lesson.
Yeah. It's another big thing.
And also our past karma, how this karma have been, how this karma carry over to the next life. Let's say there's no mind to talk about, only the brain activities. So let's say a person died, the brain also died. Am I right? So there's no activity which can carry over. So
we'll leave it for the next time.
Good question.
Plus your remote control.
Huh?
Plus your remote control.
Fast forward.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Okay, just now you mentioned that the difference between human and animals, we can overcome the selfish, right? Am I right?
Human and animal.
Yeah, like we should be overcome the selfish to be fully human. Am I?
I didn't hear that properly. What is that? That you want to know how to overcome the animal nature.
Yeah. How to overcome.
Oh, the details of that we'll discuss later. That's a long story.
Come for more lessons.
But we have 3 more lectures coming up. Every Monday you have to come.
Monday, her name is Sunday.
Her name is Sunday.
She is Vietnamese.
Her
name is Sunday.
Sunday?
Yes. I introduced her because I met her. When I bought the book for you in Kinokuniya, I bumped into her, so I introduced her to come.
Oh, that's how you came here.
No, Monday.
So Sunday came to Monday.
Sunday came on Monday. She's Vietnamese.
The
She's
first
from Vietnam.
time I saw her.
Yeah.
My first time.
When I bought the book for you, I bumped into her. So I told her this from my teacher, and then I told her to come. She's from Vietnam.
Oh, I see.
Bante,
Huh?
this question on Chitta, Mano and Vijnana. Chitta, Mano and Vijnana.
Yeah.
All these 3 words have the same Pali root word, which is na.
Chitta, Mano, Vijnana?
No.
Yeah, the root word is na, knowledge. Past, present and future. Can you give us a little bit more understanding
Past,
on
present and future.
No, what is the relation between Chitta, Mano and Vijnana, and what is the other one?
In Pali, the words in Pali have the same root word. The same na. Na as in the root word for Vijnana, Chitta and Mana. All 3 have the same key word, which is na.
Chitta, chi is the correct, remember.
Don't know where you got it from.
Is the thing, future.
I don't understand what you are trying to say.
Pali dictionary.
Bante, if I can, I think I know what he's saying. He's trying to say here, these 3 words, Vijnana, Chitta and Mano, is the past, present and future. Actually,
is that what you're trying to say?
He's trying to say Vijnana, the word jnana. Jnana is to know.
Knowledge.
To know, knowledge.
Yeah.
Knowledge is the perception. So it's actually the present, right now, here and now.
Yeah.
And chitta, chi. Chit is to collect. It's a memory. Memory, so the chitta is the memory.
No. That is
And
not
then
correct.
mano
No.
is the thinking, the mind.
No.
So it's the future.
Chitta simply means the emotional part.
The feeling.
It
Yes,
has nothing to do with memory.
No, the memory, but the memory is actually a collection of emotional experience.
Experience of the past.
No, not
Emotional.
necessarily. No.
No?
Memory is not connected with emotions. No.
And they say the word man is to think.
Mano
To
is thinking.
So
Yeah.
it's the think of the future. That's what he's trying to say. Past, present, and future.
That's
Yeah,
a different
yeah.
translation, not Bante's translation.
It's
No.
actually just Pali key words of the word itself. It's nothing to do with translation.
No,
That's
it
why
has nothing to do with past, present, and future.
Translation.
No.
That's right. I just want to get Bante's clarification. on
Uh-huh.
this. I just want to get the clarification.
Now, the words that you use in English is cognitive and affective. Cognitive is the mano part. Affective is the emotional part. Cognitive and affective. And Vijnana really is referring to perception. Perception. It has nothing to do with past, present, future. No? So,
I think he wants to.
anyway,
He wants to
yeah,
make something.
bring this to an end.
You want to bring it to an end first?
Huh?
You want to finish it first before he makes announcing?
What's that?
Or he makes announcing?
What? Yeah.
We thank Bhante for delivering an excellent and well-explained sutta talk on mind. We also thank Brother Leslie for making this sutta class possible. Before we share merit with the Devas and our departed loved one, I have a few announcements to make. Upcoming talks and event. On Friday, 2nd of June 2017, Dhamma sharing by Sister Barbara Yan with the topic Buddhist concept of friendship. Gentle reminder, no Dhamma talk on Sunday 4th of June 2017 and also on Sunday 11th of June 2017. Buddhist Mahavihara is organizing a study tour to Borobudur and Yogyakarta from 4th to 8th December 2017. Please inquire at the BNB office. 3 days non-staying retreat conducted by Bhante Pemaratana from Saturday 24th to Monday 26 June 2017 is now open for registration at the BNB office. Participants are required to attend all 3 days. We appeal to your kind, generous donation to make the Dhamma Dana lecture series a success. There's a donation box at the counter at the back of the hall. Those who wish to obtain a receipt for their contribution can do so at the BNB office. Brother Wong, do you have anything to add?
Brothers and sisters, this is just to let you know what Bhante has in mind. It is Bhante's desire to fulfill his lifetime wish is to build a meditation center, which he has started to think about in Sri Lanka. He has already got his piece of land, which is his own from his family's heritage, and I think he is now in the process of asking the architect and an accountant to do the plans and give the rough costing. So we have nothing concrete yet, but when we have something more concrete, then Bhante will let you know, I will let you know too, that what he needs, and maybe during that time we will appeal to you maybe for your kind, generous support. And we have got 2 people who will to receive collections and funds when the time comes. They are Robert at the back, Robert Farm, and Lau Biling. Biling is somewhere, both of Sister Biling, both of them will help to take care of the funds. But Until something concrete, we won't do anything. We'll keep you informed. But as far as the center is concerned, it will be under the trusteeship of people from Sri Lanka. Bante, would you like to say anything?
You want to say anything about your learning?
Well, no, it was simply that I had the intention of starting a meditation center, and so we are still in the initial stages. We have found a piece of land, about 25 acres of land, and we have cleared the area, and so we are planning to build some kutis. That means one person will be in one kuti. That means you have to be alone to meditate in that way. That is for long periods of meditation. We are not talking about just a few days of meditation. So in order to do that, we are going to have 10 kutis for the males and 10 kutis for the females. And so there will be a teacher there to teach the meditation, and of course the food and things like that will be provided. So we are only beginning, and at the first stage we are going to have a hall made where people meet, and we can have lectures and also providing meals and things like that. But the meditators will be staying alone in the kutis. That is how it should be arranged, and we have already given over to some architects who are doing the planning, and that is how it will be done. So those who like to make contributions or donations will be allowed to do it, and so all those arrangements will be made in due time. Yeah. Okay.
We now invite Bante to share the merits.
Yeah. Okay, so we end in the usual way by sharing the merits with all departed relatives and all beings by reciting Idam me ñātīnam
Nam hotu sukita hontu nātayo. Idam me nātinam hotu sukita hontu nātayo. Idam me nātinam hotu sukita hontu nātayo.
Let us also share the merits with all devas and all beings by reciting Ittavata
Taca ammehi sampadam punya sampada. Sabbe bhutva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata ca ammehi sampadam punya sampadam. Sabbe bhutva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata ca ammehi sampadam punya sampadam. Sabbe bhakta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya.
May through the power of all these merits, may every one of you be able to gain freedom from all sufferings of samsara and attain the highest and most supreme bliss of nirvana.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkandu sambha devata sambha buddhanubhavena saddha sutti bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkandu sambha devata sambha dhammanubhavena saddha sutti bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkandu sabba devata sabba sanghanubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te. Abhivadana silissa niccang vaddha pachayino chattaro dhamma vaddanti ayu anno sukhang balang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminate samijjatu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.